When we start drawing a portrait front view, and in some of the other views too, you want to use an upside down egg shape. For the front view, what you want to try to do is just envision the upside down egg. That is the very first thing to establish when you're drawing a portrait. Now, if you're having problems with the bottom part of the egg, the narrower part, what you might want to do is draw an entire sphere first, as perfect a sphere as you can acquire, and then just pull down the edges. You want to make sure that you're staying loose. Now the neck itself will usually come into play on both sides just right around this turn, just after the turn. The shoulders, I envision the shoulders kind of like a mountain whose peak touches the chin. So you can see here that peak as it touches the chin from the right moving up towards the center. As soon as it touches that chin, it reaches the peak, and then we go down the opposite way, just as we did on the right. This is the first stage. I've got this erased. I'm going to show you the guidelines that we use to establish things such as the eyes, the nose, the mouth, etc. With regard to the eyes, and I know this seems strange, but this is scientifically true. The eyes usually line up halfway between the top of the head and the chin. The next thing that we're going to do is try to find the line that indicates the nose. The line that suggests where the nose is should be halfway between the eyes and the chin, right about here. The mouth should be halfway between this line that indicates the nose and the chin, right about here. There's another guideline that we want to use that divides this upside down egg shape in half. Okay, so that both sides are symmetrical. This at least provides us with a pretty strong foundation. You can see right now, if I were to place these features here, you would kind of see that they look somewhat natural. The next thing that I want to talk about is where the ears usually are. The tops of the ears usually line up right about where the eyes are. The bottom of the ears line up where the nose is. Now, what is going to make this seem a little bit more human and not so much like an alien is where the jaw takes shape. The jaw many times makes a turn right around it, somewhere in between the nose and the mouth lines. So it's not completely curved like that. Notice also that I can actually switch back and forth I can use my graphite, or I can actually use my finger here to create some lines and tones. Okay, so let's recap a little bit. First off, what you want to do when you're drawing the portrait head-on, the front view, you want to try to imagine an upside-down egg shape. Okay? Once again, if you're having problems with the narrower part, the bottom part of that egg shape, just draw the sphere first, and then draw the bottom section. Okay, here I want to discuss how to draw the profile view of the human portrait. With regard to this, what you want to do is you want to envision an upside down egg, only this time it's going to be tilted. So right here you have the foundations for a tilted upside down egg. It helps some people if you actually draw a line first that tilts. This is intended to represent a profile that is facing to the left, and that is why the egg is tilted to the right. Now there are some people who like to actually create two overlapping eggs. This can be beneficial for some, and it can be problematic for some people. If you do the overlapping egg, you want to try to fit it in to the egg shape that's been tilted. And you can kind of see this overlapping egg shape take place. What that's meant to do is add more of a foundation to the back of the skull. So you can see this is the back of the skull here, and it's kind of added more. And then you see the jawline with juts out beyond this point here. So you can kind of see the skull shape taking form here. Once you've done that, once you have a fairly realistic profile shape of the head, you want to erase these guidelines, because we're not going to need these guidelines right now. However, the guidelines that were performed for the front view still are relevant here. And what I mean by that is that the line that indicates the eyes is going to be still halfway. So if you take the distance between here and here, the line that indicates the eyes should split the skull between this point and that point halfway through. Okay? So if we see, we take that measurement, we keep our thumb and finger transfixed, and we do the same thing down here. There's just a little bit of a difference. For the most part, we're pretty accurate. That is where the eyes need to be. Now the nose, remember, is halfway between the eyes and the chin. Right about here. The mouth, halfway between the chin and the nose. Now we have indications of where these features need to be. Anyways, with the profile 3/4 view, you're still going to tilt the egg slightly to the right. And remember, this is a profile view that's looking to the left. So we're going to tilt that egg, and we're going to draw that egg, and we're going to add the other egg shape to the back to create the back of the skull. So What also is helping me here is if I'm establishing this line that we use to divide the face in half with the front view, the view of the face as seen from head on. That line, now what happens to that line here is it curves, it warps around the curvature of the face. As the face turns, that line is no longer straight. You almost want to imagine that that line has been maybe perhaps drawn or tattooed on the actual face itself. When the face turns to a 3/4 view, like the one we have right here, what happens is that imaginary guideline also turns and it warps with the face. Now what happens here is the guideline that establishes the location of the eyes, in which case the line is going to be halfway through between the top of the head and the chin, as we know. What happens with that is it also warps. You see less distance between the midpoint here and the side of the face. This would be right about the cheek area right here. And that line also warps. The same with the line that indicates the nose. It's halfway between the line that establishes the location of the eyes and the chin. The mouth is halfway between the nose and the chin, and this line also warps. Now I have my guidelines here. Now the neck right over here is actually going to be covered by the chin in most instances with regard to a 3/4 view. So what you'll probably see is the shoulder stemming out from somewhere over here. And then this part of the neck will come down and actually connect with the shoulder visibly here. This might be a little bit too high. Now we're going to look at the tilted 3/4 view. Once again, I'm going to take the egg shape, and this time I'm actually going to tilt it to the left a little bit. And with regard to the back of the head, I'm only going to add a little bit, a bulbous area here to the back here to suggest the back of the skull. So the head tilts a little bit. And this line, much like the median that was established in the 3/4 view, remember, it warps around the head. Now, keep in mind that these guidelines, I'm going to erase these guidelines once I establish some specifics, such as, where the eyes, the shades for the values for the eyes, the nose, etc. Alright, but for now, this provides a pretty decent foundation for a 3/4 tilted view. Then you have the neck that kind of drapes around here. The shoulder, you won't see the neck that well as it comes into the shoulder here. You'll see muscular combinations over here, but the actual shoulder will stem from this part almost close to the cheek. Alright? Now, once again, I want to make sure that I use these other guidelines. Okay? The eyes, once again, they warp around. Okay? They're not straight like the profile view and or the head-on view. The view from the front. They are tilted. These lines are tilted. You're going to see that in a 3/4 view, the part of the face that is furthest away, you're going to see less of. Now, how much less, that all depends on how far the person is turned. want to keep your sketch lines very, very loose. Okay? I've made these lines just a little bit darker so that you can see them, but it's really imperative that you keep these lines light. You do not want to see the guidelines in a finished portrait drawing.